What is up, everybody? Welcome to Drive-Thru. This is AutoIndustriya.com's podcast. My name is Eric Tipan.
And I'm Vince Pornelos.
And our topic for today is electrification.
Sorry.
Okay, before we start the discussion, you see some of our merchandise right in front of the table, right? We're talking about caps, face masks that we are giving away on our podcast today.
Yes, we are.
For the first time, Drive-Thru will have prizes, all right? We're giving away 5 caps and 5 face masks separately. So 10 winners all in all, plus an 11th winner who will get a pair, a set, well, a cap and a face mask, all right? For the 10 winners, one each of the face mask and the cap. The question is for you to answer, and the top 10 questions for us, top 10 answers that we deem are worthy will win these. The question is, why would you would you buy an EV and why? That's correct, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, so would you buy an EV and why? The top 10 answers we deem are worthy, each winner will get either a cap or a face mask. All right?
Yeah, something like
That's pretty clear. Now, the 11th winner, somebody who answers... Is this a harder question?
We actually wanted to answer or to make the question as if you can count how many times we say EV in this whole podcast. But no, we won't do that for you. Instead, our question will be simple. When did AutoIndustriya.com go online?
So that's an easier... Seems to me like an easier question, but the winner of this, only one winner, and the winner gets a set, a face mask and a cap. All right? So good luck.
Yeah, the first to answer that, huh? The first to, isn't it? Something like that. First, we'll figure that out later.
I guess the first to answer that. Obviously, it's very easy to get that information. Won't have to tell you where to find it, but good luck to everyone. Okay? Now, our topic is electrification. In the simplest terms, Vince, what is it?
Well, basically, vehicle electrification is the ability of an electric drive system to drive the vehicle in many kinds of ways. So, we talk about vehicle electrification in many different kinds of stages. The most basic one is, of course, the mild hybrid system. So, remember, if you have your regular vehicle, right? You have internal combustion, gasoline or diesel.
Right.
And then you move up. The next step is a mild hybrid system. Usually these are the belt alternator starters or belt starter generator types. So it's basically combining the alternator and generator and starter in one unit. And then there's usually a 48 volt battery, lithium ion battery somewhere in the back. So it gives you a little power boost. It allows the engine to coast sometimes with the engine. Sorry, it allows the vehicle to coast with the engine off. It gives you the start-stop functionality, that kind of thing. And then you have your full hybrids. So that's the next step. So these are hybrid electric vehicles, HEVs. Some people call them different terms, like the Toyota Prius, Corolla Cross, those kinds of Lexus IS. So these are full hybrids. They're generally, I think those are parallel hybrids, the way Toyota does their hybrids. There are other versions of hybrids, but there's that. And then you have PHEV, which is a plug-in hybrid, and that's the kind you can go home, you plug into your garage outlet, maybe if you have one in your condo, and then you get a full charge the next day. And then, of course, you have the highest one is right now is the BEV, or the battery electric vehicle, or just plain EV. These are the vehicles like a Nissan Leaf, Porsche Taycan. Those are BEVs in the pure sense because there's no engine at all. The rest of the hybrids are plug-in hybrids. The hybrids, whether it's series or parallel, like Toyota or the way Nissan does it. Then you have your mild hybrid. So there's another one which is really the fuel cell, but that's like much higher. But
it also uses a battery, right?
It does.
We're talking about the Mirai of Toyota.
The Mirai, yeah, it uses hydrogen to generate. If I get my science right, it uses hydrogen to generate electricity through electrolysis or something like that. And the byproduct is not carbon dioxide but water.
Water.
So, but it changes it into electricity.
Now, this topic has been bubbling under since 2003 here in the Philippines, at least. A lot of people talking about alternative fuels, hybrids, and all that. Why is it such a hot topic? What good does it do the industry and the environment?
Oh, well, it's in terms of hot topics, electrification is becoming a hot topic actually worldwide. Actually, more so worldwide because I remember in 2015, what really pushed this. We were already on the way to it anyway, worldwide, globally speaking, not Philippines, right? We're talking about the global market. The automakers worldwide were already moving towards electrification anyway. But it kind of got accelerated in 2015 after Dieselgate. So when a lot of automakers, or some automakers, had some diesel emissions issues in 2015. So now they're kind of, okay, we can't do diesel anymore, so we're gonna put more of our money, more of our R&D into electrified and electric vehicles. So that's what they are doing because they try to be a bit more carbon neutral.
Okay.
But of course, in the Philippine market, we are not there yet, or we're trying to get there. But meaning car makers are trying to introduce more hybrids, more mild hybrids, more PHEVs, or one PHEV I know of, and then eventually more electric vehicles. Because right now, when you say electric vehicle to any average person in the country, they would think those e-bikes or that kind of thing. But when we say EV, we're talking about full-on mass market passenger cars.
Cars, that's right.
That are fully electric.
Or even the public transport system units, like the ones you see, before in Ortigas, there were some e-jeeps.
Yeah.
Those are e-vehicles as well, or electrified vehicles as well. Now, as to what it will do for the environment, Vince, obviously without emissions, it's a lot cleaner, correct?
Yes, correct, but there are caveats with that. So
we'll get to that later. But in general, I mean, per se, as a unit itself, it's cleaner.
No actual tailpipe emissions. There's no tailpipe. No for an EV, right?
Right.
So if we're talking about a full EV,
full
battery
electric,
EV, that means there's no tailpipe because it's electric. But of course, when you talk about hybrids and PHEVs, there is a tailpipe, but the emissions are much less. The fuel consumption is also much less.
Right.
Because you have the hybrid, the electric system taking over in the city driving part. But generally, that's what we're looking at.
Right, and also zero noise pollution, obviously, because especially for electric vehicles.
Oh, it's ridiculously quiet.
Yeah, it's extremely quiet.
You know, it would have been useful if you were a teenager arriving at home. You know, like
you sneak.
Yeah, you sneak in. You kind of arrive at home. There's no engine sound. Your parents aren't gonna wake up and say, "What are you doing outside?" No,
how good would it have been if that technology were available when Vince's was still sneaking out of the house, you know, on
or
dates.
When Eric was sneaking out of the house in the 80s, 70s.
Plus, aside from those, it also, at least in the Philippine setting, Vince, right? A lot of people, we heard this. If EVs, especially these e-jeepneys, are fully implemented, it will phase out a lot of these old, dilapidated units that we still see on the roads.
Ooh, that's a very political issue.
Yeah,
Jeepneys.
Of course, it's a hot, sensitive topic, but that's one of when you speak to several government agencies, that's one of the things that they include in things that will be affected and they call improve with the electrification of the automotive industry in the Philippines. Okay, well, a lot of people, obviously, this is strikes a nerve because EVs are a lot more expensive than regular cars here in the country as compared to others. Why is it so?
Ooh, well, many reasons. For one, EVs are generally more expensive than their petrol or diesel-powered counterparts because the technology is more expensive. Particularly, the batteries are more expensive. So, and also, most of these vehicles, actually not all, are produced in other countries. So, for example, a lot of EVs are produced in Japan, right? So, when these vehicles come in, they become very, very expensive because of the taxes. The exchange rates, everything else, from the actual production of the vehicle, which is also higher than the most common petrol-powered vehicles.
But people who go online, you see a Prius so affordable in a place like, let's say, United States. Why is that not yet possible? I mean, in terms of bringing the price down here in the Philippines.
Economies of scale. I mean, they sell so many of those there. They actually produce a lot of the hybrids there as well. So,
but they do sell it because the price is lower, right? How do taxes impact these vehicles?
These vehicles are very, very, very tax sensitive, because a lot of these nations that offer EVs, hybrids, and all that, they come up with special tax structures to benefit hybrids, because it is the future. It is cleaner. I mean, there is the benefit of having a cleaner vehicle driving around, cleaner in terms of tailpipe emissions again. But with us, we don't have that yet. We don't have a new energy vehicle or alternative energy vehicle tax exemption. For example, we talk again and again about this thing called JPEPA or PJEPA, the Japan-Philippine Economic Partnership Agreement, right? So that makes vehicles that have engines that are 3 liters or larger in displacement much more affordable, because it removes quite a bit of the tax duties and stuff like that, tariffs or whatever. So that's why you get vehicles that have 3.5 liter V6s from Japan being very, very competitive against, let's say, a European vehicle. And mind you, we're talking about luxury sector here, so not so much in the mass market sector. So we're talking about big vehicles. That's why your Land Cruiser, the price went down. Same with Patrol. These Japan-made vehicles with big engines. But we don't have any structure like that for electric vehicles. That's why also the Prius is quite pricey, because for a vehicle that is the size of a Corolla, it's very expensive, because again, the tax structure there. Which is why it's important to have the free trade agreement, and it's also the reason why the Corolla Cross and the Corolla Hybrid are very affordable, because those are now made in Thailand. With the ASEAN Free Trade Agreement.
Now, people will be thinking right now, what about train? There's a provision in the train law that says that there's an incentive for electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles.
Yes, but you still have a lot of taxes to deal with because excise tax is right. I think when they compute the NMISP, a lot of net manufacturers importers selling price. It's a complicated. Again, we're also learning this as we go along. When they come up with these when these terms come up, it's like, what is NMISP? But we have to research it. So if we're getting it wrong, sorry, but we're trying to do our best with learning all these terms. It's really, really complicated. But the NMISP is basically the kind of dealer's price, or what they buy the price from the distributor or the manufacturer.
Okay. So the train law only affects the excise tax, but not the tax or import duties that the manufacturers or the brands pay for when they ship these vehicles in. Because as we mentioned, most of these hybrid electric vehicles come from Japan. And only recently did we get the Corolla Cross and the Corolla, which there are hybrid variants that come from Thailand, which are slightly more affordable because of the free trade agreement that we have in the ASEAN region. Obviously, taxes. When you say taxes, you think DTI. How can DTI make these prices, the prices of hybrid vehicles, electric vehicles, more competitive?
Not really DTI. It's more of we need a law. We need a law for that. We need. There was an AFV bill, I think, alternative fuel vehicles bill. There was or is or something like that, but it's kind of stalled because
it's still a bill. There are two versions. There's one in the House. There's one in Senate. It's right now. It's still.
I think there are more versions than two.
Well, that's true. Actually,
anyway,
depends on the session. Yeah.
So next year's an election year. We'll see how that goes.
That's true. What kind of incentives you were mentioning a law, right? Now,
Yes.
what incentives can you include in this bill? Because, like what we said, there are a lot of versions of this bill already. But what incentives do you think will be highly effective in lowering the price of EVs and EVs, for that matter?
Just make it favorable. Just make it favorable to introduce EVs, and then more of them will come. That is one thing, because again, even with hybrids, we're seeing like the cost of a hybrid, particularly from Japan, is like almost double that of a vehicle of a similar size.
Yeah.
In without the hybrid engine, without a hybrid system. So if you're a person buying a car, you look at it, am I willing to pay double for better fuel economy? I'll just use the extra double for accessories and not really a condo, more
But
stuff.
Here's an argument I hear a lot.
Ah.
Does the fuel savings you get from a hybrid, or if you're using an electric vehicle, I mean, you're not even buying fossil fuel, but do these fuel savings you get make up for the high cost of acquisition of these vehicles?
Ooh,
I know you're gonna have to do a lot
weird.
of math, but in just
Let me
quick,
bring out my. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
just top
I
of
don't know.
mind.
That's
do,
hard
do,
to.
do you think it would? Because that's what a lot of people will be thinking. Like,
Top of
I'm not,
mind?
I'm paying half of what I usually pay for fuel. If you spend like 10,000 pesos a month, I spend maybe 5,000 less than, or I don't even, because if it's a full electric vehicle. But is it going to offset in the long run the huge price tag of the vehicle?
That's a big sticking point, and that's why I think hybrids hybrids and electric vehicles have to be brought down in price for us to be able to answer that question. Because right now, looking at the prices or what they're going to be offering them for, the answer is not going to be. It's
No?
going to be a no. It's going to be a no.
Even like in
Because
a
it's-
10
no,
year,
because
10
the gap
year,
is huge. The gap is
cannot.
what you're trying to offset is so big.
Mm-hmm.
But whereas if you go into other countries, if you go to other countries and then you look at the cost there,
Yeah.
it's very comparable.
Very.
And it's especially if you're in a city setting, like us, we're in Eric's from NCR, I'm from NCR Plus. But if we're talking about a city setting, then it makes a lot of sense. Now, if you're driving really, really long distances, maybe not. Maybe it's petrol or diesel is still the way to go for you. But if you're in an urban setting and you look around, you see the noxious fumes, the smog, then it may make sense, more sense, and it'll be quieter too. And one thing they don't talk about with the hybrids a lot is that because there are far less moving parts, particularly in EVs. Sorry, EVs, not hybrids. Since there are fewer moving parts in a vehicle that is purely electric.
Purely
driven,
electric, yeah.
Yeah, there are much less vibrations, and that means if you're driving, you go to the banyo less.
I don't even know how that affects your bladder, Vince, but I would rather
it's the
not
vibrations from the vehicle, man.
get into that. In the meantime, on to more basic concerns, right? A lot of people, we've been talking about hybrids, the automotive media, Philippine automotive media has been talking about hybrids for a long time, at least for about 10 years. But people still ask this very question. What about charging? What do I do if it runs out of electricity?
That's the problem.
Break it down, Vince, from EVs to hybrids to plug-ins. You were mentioning that earlier, but
Alright, so-
how does charging, use of an outlet and all that affect these types?
The mild hybrids and the full hybrids, you generally don't need to charge anymore because those are usually self-charging. So actually, even PHEV, you don't need to plug it in.
Yeah. As
Same
long
with
as it's a hybrid, you don't really
So long as
need.
it's a hybrid, you don't need to plug it in. But with a PHEV, it just gives you that option.
Yeah, you can plug
So
it
it
at
gives you the
home.
option to plug in at home. So the next day when you drive out, you've got a full battery, and then you're not, you can maximize the EV capabilities of
Right.
your vehicle. So that is the thing with most hybrids. and plug-in hybrids. However, with EVs, you are tied to infrastructure. So in the same way that a gasoline vehicle, if you're driving, for example, in the country or the SE Tex or wherever there's no
country.
gas station around, then you get nervous about if your fuel is like 1/4 remaining.
Right.
You're like, oh, sabi yung sunod na gasolinahan dito, diba? Ganun na inisipin mo. So, but with EVs, it's even more extreme because while you do have petrol stations, gas stations anywhere in the Philippines or anywhere in the world, really, with EVs, you don't have charging stations everywhere. You don't have the option to fast charge. And by fast charge, we're talking about like CHAdeMO or the other systems.
Here you go again with
There's
these
so many of them,
Yeah,
man.
these are types of outlets, types of charging.
Protocols or systems or
and it varies.
So it varies per region, but generally CHAdeMO is the
Is
one.
universal, more universal than the others.
Yeah, the more widely accepted. I
Okay.
think would be the term that they would use. But the thing about EV is that you are technically you are tied to a radius base, and the center point of that radius is the nearest charging station. Or your home, because you can charge from home.
At home.
Right? But
Okay.
again, that's pretty much it.
Now, before I get to how you charge at home, range, because you're talking about radius, distance, and all that. What about range? Is it an issue here in the country where you rarely go one straight drive all the way to Ilocos? I mean, very few people do that.
Few people do that.
And range, what is the average range right now of EVs? Since you're talking about getting being limited by a charging station.
The one that's gonna introduce an EV very soon is Nissan, and we drove one. We drove the Leaf in December. The range on that, I think they were advertising around 310.
So you're safe to go to Baguio without having to stop and charge.
That might be dicey because again, what we need to discuss here is that range usually factors in straight line, flat straight line, that kind of thing, right? If you go up to Baguio, and the Baguio from here is like 250, 240, 250. And then it seems smaller, but you're going uphill.
The last 10? Is it the last 10, last 15?
Well, maybe, but it might be tricky. I actually proposed that, baby. If you saw my video of the Leaf, I actually proposed that we take it up to Baguio, and then I thought about it. It's like, wait.
Are you skeptical? It's not gonna make it?
No, it probably will, but again, we are talking about uphill.
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking about uphill, so. All bets are off. All bets are off with the uphill part.
So the range is 300. So if you're talking city driving, maybe going to Batangas, going to out of town, and when we talk out of town,
that's what I tried to extrapolate. When we did that drive, I think we did a real world drive in EDSA, super heavy traffic, and then we were also filming, so we were stopping, going. We weren't being very efficient at all. I think we got like just over 200 kilometers if we extrapolate the range from the percentage I consumed. So I have to double check my video, but more or less that's it. So it was 200, but it was 200-hour traffic at rush hour, EDSA, raining, you name it. Payday as well. That was a payday. So all the bad stuff factored into traffic. Yeah, it's fine.
Were you able to figure out the cost of driving an EV during that time? Like how much in terms of pesos per kilometer or something like that?
Man, we should have looked for that here, but it's
is it cheaper than driving gasoline?
Definitely cheaper than driving gasoline per kilometer basis, because if you factor in the cost of per kilowatt hour compared to liters, it's just cheaper. It can be cheaper.
So regardless of how much we complain about how expensive our electricity here, what you're saying is if you have an EV, we're not talking about acquisition costs, but if to fuel it, to power it, it's cheaper to run it. It's cheaper using electricity than gasoline.
EVs have a lot of advantages. We've already laid out that for one, EVs are very, very smooth. So that's one. EVs are very, very quiet. They're super efficient, generally speaking. Okay, so the ones that are really mass market engineered, like Nissan, the one Porsche, the other car manufacturers that don't have it here yet, but we've tried abroad. Those EVs are really, really good. But the drawbacks, of course, you have cost, right? We have cost.
This is acquisition cost.
Yeah, the price of the vehicle, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, the cost that comes with that. For example, if you want to put up a charger at your house, then you need to have it. It's not just something you do get a mobile charger that you can plug into your wall outlet. But if you're talking about an EV with a high capacity, that's going to take hours and hours, probably overnight, maybe even more, to fully charge a battery, an EV from close to empty to all the way to 100. That will take a long time with a simple plug-in AC outlet charger.
Okay.
What you need to do is you need to have a 3-phase power outlet wired into your home. That is going to be the big thing with EVs, because you should ask Meralco or your local.
They were saying,
wired in.
Actually, they were saying an electrician. If there's a competent electrician, you can actually have this thing installed. But going back to these chargers, so if you buy an EV, you get a regular
you usually get a regular
plug
like
you can use for your socket.
It looks like a really big adapter of a laptop.
Okay.
Like a laptop adapter, but supersized.
And then you can use that on a regular outlet in the country.
But I don't think Starbucks is gonna allow you to plug in.
So you can do this at home. This is the one you were talking about that will take overnight to fully charge your vehicle.
Yeah,
but again, you can
more than overnight.
You can use a 3-phase for faster charging and all that. There several brands who were bringing it in. When we talked to them, they mentioned that they will make charging available in dealerships, select dealerships around for now Luzon. So we'll have to
That is a problem here because we do not have the infrastructure at all. We have 2 charging stations that I know of that you can go to.
There's one on EDSA, right?
There's one on EDSA. It's a Uni Oil station and another one in QC here somewhere over there. But there is a catch though. You see, the problem there is that those charging stations at the Uni Oil station, they are not hooked up to the grid. They are not hooked up to the power line, to the Meralco. They're not. You see, apparently, correct me if I'm wrong, if you viewers know which law it is or which rule, whatever. Apparently, there is a law or regulation, something decree, I'm not sure, that mandates only Meralco can charge for electricity in NCR and NCR Plus. So I'm not sure. I've been trying to look for it. I can't find it. So if you guys can point us in the right direction, please do. We'd love to see that. But apparently, only Meralco can. They have the monopoly. I mean, that's really how it operates in this area. I'm not sure about in other areas. I think they have cooperatives, but only Meralco can charge money for electricity in this area. So factoring that in, when you look at the charging station at the Uni Oil, it's not hooked up to the grid because they cannot legally.
Okay, so what does that mean if it's not hooked up to the grid?
It's hooked up to a generator.
Okay.
That is a thing that shocked me the first time I arrived there.
So how is that a bad thing? What are you saying?
It's a bad thing because when you look at it, you're not to charge your vehicle. They will have to power up the generator. It's a big diesel generator. So that is the thing that we need to iron out because for this to work, that rule, whatever, has to be fixed.
Okay.
So that
be modified.
You can add charging stations anywhere, so people can like businesses or malls or dealers can, let's say, put up a charging station and then make money out of it because it's electricity. So you have to be able to make money out of it somehow.
You touched on this a little bit earlier. Powering EVs, especially in a country like ours, may not be as efficient as we expect it to be because of where we are getting our electricity.
Yes, that's the problem because if it's non-renewable, then what's the point, right? That's the sticking point with EVs, because a lot of our power in actually most of the country is not renewable. A lot,
which means it doesn't come from renewable sources like hydroelectric,
wind, solar, those. Even I think CNG, not really, no. So it's really for it to be truly great, it has to be
truly green.
Truly green. See Eric there, very green-minded. So for it to be truly green, it has to come from a green source, a renewable source.
Yeah.
And much of our power is either, I think, fuel oil, coal. Diesel.
Right.
So
which also has emissions.
Yes, a lot. So you have to kind of balance it out. There is one province that I heard of. Actually, we just came from there. It was, I think, Ilocos Norte. They are very much, I think, renewable.
With the Bangi windmills.
Well, The first time I went there, I think there were only like 10 windmills. Right? This time when I arrived there, it's like
Really?
there's so many. There's so many of those windmills here now. So it's surprising. I mean, looking around, and then they also have, I think, hydro and all that. So
Okay.
it's good that they're making that step.
So what you're saying is if you charge your vehicle there, it's going to be better for the environment than if
Yeah.
you charge it in Metro Manila.
yeah,
Because
drive to the windmill, hook up to the straight to the windmill, and then see what
and
happens.
then drive back.
Yeah.
Cost of ownership, less moving parts, less vibration, and also less chances of something breaking down.
I don't know about less chances of something breaking down, but it's, if you look at it, it's actually simpler. I mean, an EV can be simpler depending on how it was engineered, of course. So yeah,
No change oils for an EV.
I think I'm actually not sure. You know what? We'll ask that question next time. I think there aren't the maintenance is a lot simpler
Yeah,
than passenger than regular
From-
internal combustion.
From what guys at Nissan mentioned before, is just and checking the battery for leaks. Once a year, you have to come in for that. But basically, that's about it. That's your PMS.
Yeah.
So it comes out cheaper in the long run. One final question: Are we ready? Is the Philippines ready for electrification? Because there are some brands about to launch. You mentioned that
Yeah.
the Leaf is about. Is it 2021?
Yes, this year. It was
Okay.
supposed to be it was supposed to be August last year.
That's true.
It was supposed to be August 2020, but pandemic and everything.
Okay, so are we
So-
ready?
Are we ready to launch?
And the market is the
You know
market
what?
ready for?
I don't think we can ever be ready. It's really, and this is why we're very supportive of companies that take the risk of launching an EV in our market, because if we're talking about are we ready, are we not, blah blah blah, then we're never really ready. It's someone has to take a chance.
Just
Someone
jump in
has to
there
take
with
a
both-
shot.
Jump in there with both feet. and-
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like you have to do it. Someone has to do it. Someone has to take the first step. And it can't just be in the luxury sector where you see hybrids and all that. It has to be in cars that you and I can afford.
Mass market.
Yeah, so it has to be
Models.
in that. And someone has to take a chance. Everyone's gonna say, "Oh, we're not ready for hybrid, for EV and hybrid." But really, when are we ever gonna be ready? Unless somebody takes a chance
and it's there,
gives
yeah.
it full beans.
For what?
Full beans? Am I gonna have a term? Goes all in. Yan. Pang poker
More
na lang tayo.
poker
Mag-all in
reference.
na lang. Oh.
Okay, so we hope it somehow cleared it up for you. There are still plenty of questions. Obviously, a lot of question marks with regards to electrification, NEVs, new energy vehicles, and all the vehicles in that spectrum. We'll definitely need to do this again. This was a podcast requested when we did the second podcast. Somebody wanted us to talk about electric vehicles, so here it is. Hopefully, we've helped you out and cleared things up a little bit. Back again to the giveaway before we wrap up this podcast. We're giving away one mask, one cap for one winner. 10 winners, all right? 10 of these. 5. No, it's confusing, right?
You can do it, man.
5
You
of
can
these,
do it.
5 of these for 10 winners. So 1 each, okay? All you have to do is answer the question, would you buy an EV and why, okay? The best answers we choose, not the first answers, but the best answers that we choose get to win the prize. Plus, we have an 11th winner, Vince.
Who can tell us when AutoIndustriya went online?
That's it. And that winner gets a pair, 1 mask and 1 cap, all right?
Yeah.
Good luck to all of you guys, and we'll see you on the next podcast. For Vince, I'm Eric. Again, subscribe to our YouTube channel and click that notification bell so you get alerted when we release new videos and podcasts. Plus, follow and like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And like Eric says, make sure you drive something that stirs your soul.